Welcome back, friends. Today we dive into a story that is as much about ideas as it is about the man behind them. Economics often feels distant, full of charts and equations. But the subject becomes thrilling when we talk about the brilliant, controversial, and witty mind of John Maynard Keynes. Why should you care about a man who lived more than a century ago? Because every time governments rescue banks, launch stimulus programs, or spend their way out of crisis, you are witnessing Keynes's ideas at work. His theories remain a lifeline in times of global uncertainty. John Maynard Keynes was born on the 5th of June 1883 in Cambridge, England. His father, John Neville Keynes, was a respected lecturer in economics and logic, while his mother, Florence Ada Keynes, was a pioneering social reformer who later became mayor of Cambridge. Young Maynard grew up in a household filled with books, debates, and high expectations. From an early age, Keynes displayed an intellectual curiosity that went beyond numbers. He devoured philosophy, history, and literature. While most children played, he was writing essays and sharpening arguments. He was tall, awkward, and not especially athletic, but his sharp wit and intellect made him stand out. At Cambridge University, Keynes studied mathematics, but was soon drawn into the world of economics under Alfred Marshall and Arthur Pigou. Cambridge was more than a school. For him, it was a stage. He joined debating societies, impressed professors, and built friendships that would later form the Bloomsbury Group, a circle of artists and thinkers. After graduation, Keynes joined the British Civil Service and was stationed in India. There, he worked on trade and finance issues. Though bureaucratic work bored him, the experience gave him a first-hand view of how imperial economics functioned and the complexities of managing money across nations. His career took off when he returned to Cambridge as a lecturer. Soon after, World War I erupted, and Keynes was recruited by the British Treasury. His ability to navigate complicated financial systems made him indispensable. By his early 32s, he was influencing decisions at the highest levels of government. In 1919, Keynes attended the Versailles Peace Conference. There, he was horrified by the Allied leaders' insistence on punishing Germany with massive reparations. He foresaw that such harsh terms would destroy Germany's economy and destabilize Europe. Keynes's warnings were ignored. Angry and disillusioned, he resigned from the Treasury and wrote The Economic Consequences of the Peace. The book accused the victors of short-sighted greed and predicted economic and political disaster. It became an international sensation, earning him fame and enemies in equal measure. His prediction sadly came true. Germany's collapse and subsequent turmoil contributed to the rise of extremism. Decades later, many admitted Keynes had been right all along. His reputation as a prophetic thinker was firmly established. But Keynes was not all about numbers and policy. He was a central figure in the Bloomsbury Group, mingling with Virginia Woolf, E.M. Forster, and other cultural icons. He loved art, music, and theater. This human side of Keynes made him unique among economists. He was as comfortable at a ballet as he was at a finance meeting. Keynes's personal life was equally unconventional. He had relationships with men in his youth, but later married Lydia Lopokova, a Russian ballerina. Their union shocked some of his intellectual friends, but proved to be a joyful and supportive marriage. Lydia brought warmth and stability to his often high-pressure life. Financially, Keynes was adventurous. He invested boldly in stocks and commodities, sometimes losing vast sums, sometimes making brilliant gains. Through trial and error, he developed a sophisticated approach and eventually amassed a personal fortune. Unlike many academics, he was both a thinker and a doer in the financial markets. Then came 1929, the Great Depression. Markets collapsed, unemployment soared, and despair spread. Traditional economists insisted that the economy would self-correct. Keynes disagreed. He argued that waiting for balance to return naturally was like telling starving people to be patient while food magically appears. Keynes's response was radical. When private spending fails, the government must step in. Public works, infrastructure, education, and housing should be funded to create jobs and demand. By putting money in people's hands, the economy could restart like an engine given fresh fuel. In 1936, Keynes published The General Theory of Employment, Interest, and Money. The book was dense but groundbreaking. It challenged the dominant belief in laissez-faire economics and introduced the idea that governments could and should actively manage economies. The reception was explosive. Critics accused him of advocating reckless spending. Supporters hailed him as the savior of capitalism. Either way, Keynesian economics soon became the foundation of modern macroeconomic thought. During World War II, Keynes once again stepped into public service. He advised the British government on how to finance the war without destroying the economy. His strategies balanced military needs with economic stability, proving that even in wartime, thoughtful planning was essential. His crowning moment came at the Bretton Woods Conference in 1944. There, representatives from 44 countries met to design the post-war financial system. Keynes played a leading role, proposing mechanisms for international cooperation and stability. While not all of his proposals were accepted, the creation of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank reflected his vision of a coordinated global economy. Even today, those institutions shape international finance. Keynes was more than just an economist. He was a strategist for civilization itself. He believed that economics was not about numbers alone, but about human welfare, employment, and dignity. He saw economics as a tool to improve lives, not just balance budgets. He was also famous for his sharp tongue. He could demolish an opponent in debate with a single witty remark. At the same time, he had the charisma to persuade leaders and the public alike. Despite his brilliance, Keynes was often in poor health. Years of overwork, combined with heart problems, weakened him. Yet he never stopped pushing forward, writing, teaching, and advising until his final days. When Keynes died in 1946, the world mourned a man who had not only reshaped economics, but also offered hope in dark times. He was buried in Cambridge, the city where his journey had begun. After his death, Keynesianism dominated global policy. The post-war economic boom of the 1,950 seconds and 60 seconds was guided by his ideas. Full employment, government spending, and international cooperation became the norms of policymaking. In the 1,970 seconds, Keynesian economics faced challenges as inflation rose. Free market advocates like Milton Friedman argued for a return to limited government intervention. Yet even they could not erase Keynes's influence. Decades later, during the 2008 global financial crisis, governments once again turned to Keynes. Stimulus packages, bailouts, and public spending were all straight from his playbook. His ghost seemed to whisper across time, "Spend now, recover later." The COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 brought Keynes back into the headlines once again. Governments unleashed trillions to keep economies afloat. Critics and supporters debated, but the underlying principle was clear. In a crisis, Keynesian thinking still ruled. Keynes once famously said, "In the long run, we are all dead." He meant that waiting for distant market corrections was useless when people were suffering now. It was a blunt reminder that economics must serve the present as much as the future. And so, John Maynard Keynes remains not just a figure from history, but a living presence in today's policies. His life was proof that ideas can change the world, and his theories continue to guide nations in their darkest hours. Friends, if you found this journey inspiring, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of the thinkers who shaped our world.